Today I will be talking about an anime about gambling called Kakegurui. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In a world full of money, desire and boredom, there is an academy for mostly the rich and wealthy, where everything is about gambling. Where you can, if you gambled everything away, become a house pet or get girls and fame if you win a lot. In this world, Suzui, which is this guy, starts out as a house pet after he lost too much against a girl called Sotome. House pets are being used and verbally abused. This all changes for Suzui when a new girl called Yumeko Jabami enters the academy asking for him to show her around. Not too long after, Yumeko meets Saotome, who asks if she wants to gamble. Yumeko, who already fell in love with the place, accepts. They go against each other in a rock-paper-scissors game, where the surrounding students of the academy write rock, paper or scissors onto a paper and throw their cards into a box. Then, both of them pull out 3 cards from the box to play against each other, by choosing one of the cards to play against the other person's card. Yumeko loses 4 rounds, totaling around 1 million yen in losses. After which she asks if they should play the next round over 10 million yen. Saotome is stunned that she would carry such large sums of cash, and calls her crazy. Yumeko's face then turns evil and insane, while she says that this insanity is what makes gambling interesting. Saotome is shocked, but takes the bet as she has rigged the game in her favor, as 21 of the voters that write rock, paper or scissors onto the cards are voting for what she wants, giving her the knowledge of what card is best to pick. What Saotome doesn't know is that Yumeko thought through it, and knows the game is rigged against her. But if you have the knowledge of it being rigged, it's no longer really rigged against you, which Yumeko uses to win against Saotome, winning 10 million yen, and asking her to pay up afterwards. As Saotome doesn't have the money, she becomes a house pet the next day. As Suzui is talking to Yumeko, he tells her the amount of debt he owes. Yumeko thanks him for the fun game, even though he helped Saotome to rig it in her favor, as he was the house pet of Saotome. Yumeko then hands him a bundle of cash to pay his debt out of the life as a house pet. The next day, Suzui and Yumeko meet up again, where Suzui explains how the house pet and ranking system works. Even though he dislikes the system, one cannot unsee Yumeko's visual excitement she has about the whole academy and its systems. Out of nowhere, a girl in the cafeteria asks Yumeko to gamble against her. And Yumeko obviously accepts, as gambling is the only reason she joined the academy in the first place. They are playing a game where you have 2 decks of cards upside down and you need to find the different pairs, just like memory. As Yumeko says that she doesn't have 20 million yen on hand, she lends it from the girl to play against her. The decks they use are apparently from the girl's family business and are top selling cards. They then proceed to play the game, where it turns out that the girl has marks on the back of half of the cards guaranteeing her the win. Even though the game gets pretty close, Yumeko loses the game and looks devastated, as she says that she cannot pay the 20 million and that she wants to play again to win back the amount she just lost. The girl says that they can play a second round, if Yumeko bets her real finger and toenails for it, as the girl has a real collection of them, from all the past opponents that couldn't pay up their debt. Yumeko accepts, even though all the surrounding people think it's a crazy idea. Yumeko's mood then changes into an evil one and states that the girl should pay for putting the business name at risk for using rigged cards. As it turns out, Yumeko knew how the cards were rigged from the beginning, as she then turns half of the pairs in one go in the second game, as she memorized all the markings on the back of the cards from last game. Yumeko winning the second game in such an evil way destroys the other girl's image and mood. The girl also looks horrified, as revealing that the company sells cards for cheating purposes is a huge scandal which will lead to billions in losses. The next day, Yumeko hears about official games, which are games played by the higher-ups in the academy. As she wants to participate in such a game, she enters a room where Saotome plays already and apparently lost, increasing her debt to around 50 million yen. Yumeko then starts to play the same game Saotome just lost against one of the higher-ups, called Life or Death. It's similar to roulette, with a tweak of the possibility to win 30 times the amount or lose 30 times the amount, depending on the direction the knife points to. They start with betting a total of 40 million yen, but split this into several smaller amounts. On the first round, no one wins, even though the higher up was close to win 30 times her amount. Yumeko then tells her that she is a terrible woman, a lowlife even. The reason for it being that she found out how the other party cheats at the game. She then reveals how the other party is cheating. By being able to control one of the swords with magnets, she has a higher percentage to win the game, even if it's not guaranteed. Yumeko then put everything on the line, on one number, which would lead to a loss of 2.1 billion yen if the other party would lose. Before they reveal the outcome underneath the cup, the other leaders of the academy are coming to see the result of the game. The reveal then shows a loss of 310 million for Yumeko, which didn't seem to bother her too much. She later finds out the reason for the loss was most likely another trick, the changing of the sword from the bottom of the floor. Yumeko is then seen being a housepet after she lost that big of an amount. As people notice that she is a housepet, they start laughing at her and throwing stuff at her, which didn't bother her too much as she then starts acting like a cat. The reason for that being that female housepets are called mittens, so basically cats. This behavior of Yumeko irritates the bullies and makes them leave. Crazy girl, isn't she? Yumeko and Saotome both get life forms the next day, which is basically a contract for a chosen life, which will happen if they aren't able to pay their debt. In that contract, life partner, child expectations, graduations and several other things are included, which Yumeko finds really exciting. Next up, a new game is being introduced to a huge amount of people that got invited to a room. The debt replacement game, where the amount of debt someone owes can drastically change. It's being played by groups of 4. Yumeko and Saotome both attend the games and got put into the same group. Joining them will be a bigger guy and a smaller girl who seems to be the housepet of the bigger guy. Indian poker is the game to decide the winners and losers of the debt game. Even though the rules are quite complicated, it's important to note that every chip is 1/10 of each person's debt to decide the winners and losers at the end, which means that the higher someone's debt, the more valuable her chips. As turns change, everyone wins and loses small hands, until Saotome bluffs her way to win her first hand, angering the only male player with them. Saotome and Yumeko then find out how the two others are playing together, by telling each other what cards they got on their hand, with hand signs under the table. As the pairs know each other cards anyway, they decide to make it more fun by showing one of their cards open to everyone, changing it to a game of bluffing. At the last turn, the male player thinks he is first by far, as he has multiple chips from Yumeko, which should be the highest value chips. He only needs to win one last round with his teammate. Yumeko and Saotome then play together to help the housepet of the male player win and get her in front of the male player. As the turn ends, the ranking is announced. Saotome wins, the housepet gets second, Yumeko gets third, and the male player gets last. The reason for this is that in the beginning, as everyone needed to write their own debt, Saotome and Yumeko changed the debt to each other's, making the chips have different values at the end, thus giving the overly confident male player a debt in the amount of 310 million yen. That game was the start of a friendship of Yumeko and Saotome, two actual genius gamblers. It's then explained that there's a rule that people with a certain amount of debt can challenge anyone they want. Yumeko wants to take advantage of that rule, so she doesn't pay up her debt and instead wants to challenge someone from the council. As other members of the council try to protect the president from playing against Yumeko, another girl from the council, who is an actual idol at the academy, plays against Yumeko in smaller games where with every one game, one can place a cross in tic-tac-toe. As the smaller games go on, at the deciding game, one needs to guess the birthday of a random selected visitor at the show. The council girl thinks she's definitely gonna win, as she knows the birthday of every one of her fans. But Yumeko's friends, Suzui and Saotome, are also sitting in the audience, and with just pure luck, Saotome gets picked. As the council member then loses this, and with that the whole game, an audio tape, which was part of the bet, is revealed, which shows the idol ranting about the sweaty big ugly fans of her, which in theory should destroy her career as an idol. But simps, being simps, still love their idol and support her, even though she thinks they are all ugly, fat, sweaty guys. What a bunch of clowns, huh? Yumeko, the next day, then plays against the council leader, who could not get protected by the other members. As Yumeko and the leader have similar personalities, they both gamble their all in one game. The loser will leave the academy forever. The game being played is a game where every card has a value on them, and depending on if it shows to or against you, you either get or lose that amount of points. Yumeko starts out and gets 1 point. Then the council leader turns around the highest card possible, giving her the lead by far. The next catch, Suzui needs to turn the last card for Yumeko. He needs the Joker to win the game. And he notices lipstick on the back of one card, which he thinks should be the Joker, as the president held it against her mouth when she showed it. But he changes his mind the last second and turns another card around, which, together with Yumeko's 1 point, equalizes the president's and Yumeko's points, ending the game in a draw. And with this breathtaking last game, the first season ends. Was it the Joker that Suzui didn't turn around, or was it a play prepared by the president? Let me know in the comments below. As there is a lot of work put into our videos, I would highly appreciate if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks and have a nice day. Blastings from Akuma Anime.